Hey guys, Miss Raymond here today to talk to you about poetry and specifically sound devices used in poetry. Um, as I told you, we're going to go into more detail about different aspects of poetry. So today we're going to focus on sound devices. All right, so let's start with rhythm. Rhythm, it is the flow of the beat in the poem. It's what gives poetry a musical feel. It can be fast or slow depending on the mood and the subject of the poem. You can measure rhythm in meter by counting the beats in each line. All right, so rhythm beats, pattern of beats are a series of stressed and unstressed syllables in a poem. And as you can see in the poem over here, they have indicated in the poem what the stressed syllables are, and it kind of shows you down here. They often use marks like this. So stressed would be the line, and the unstressed would be the kind of like half circle. Poets create rhythm by using words in which parts are emphasized or not emphasized. The yellow highlighted parts of the poem show what has been stressed. So I'm going to read, this is from Windy Nights by Robert Louis Stevenson. Whenever the moon and stars are set, whenever the wind is high, all night long in the dark and wet, a man goes riding by. Late in the night, when the fires are out, why does he gallop and gallop about? So hopefully you can kind of hear the stressed syllables and how it kind of gives some rhythm to the poem. All right, here's another rhythm example. In this poem, the rhythm is slow to match the night gently falling and the lights slowly coming on. This poem is called Where Are You Now? When the night begins to fall and the sky begins to glow, you look up and see the tall city of lights begin to grow. In rows and little golden squares, the lights come out, first here, then there. Behind the window panes, as though a million billion bees had built their golden hives and honeycombs above you in the air. So that poem has a slower rhythm to it. All right, so rhymes are words that end with the same sound, like cat and the hat. This is the most common sound device in poetry. I think we talked about that a little before in our introduction to poetry. However, not all poetry has to rhyme. I know that's kind of a common maybe misconception, but poetry does not have to rhyme. A lot of it doesn't, but generally it does have rhythm to it. And here, of course, is a famous example from Dr. Seuss and Green Eggs and Ham. Say I like green eggs and ham. I do, I like them, Sam I am. And I would eat them in a boat, and I would eat them with a goat. So even other things besides poetry might rhyme. A lot of times in children's books, there will be lots of rhymes. All right, so there are different types of rhyming patterns. Poets can choose from a variety of different kind of common rhyming patterns. Here's some examples. AABB, which means that lines 1 and 2 rhyme and lines 3 and 4 rhyme. You can see how it's color coded. ABAB, where lines 1 and 3 rhyme and then lines 2 and 4 rhyme. We have ABBA, where line 1 and 4 rhyme and lines 2 and 3 rhyme. And then ABCB, where lines 2 and 4 rhyme and lines 1 and 3 do not rhyme. Okay, and we are going to look at some more examples of these types, and we also have a video clip to watch. So let me go ahead and pause. All right, so let's look at the AABB rhyming pattern, which is illustrated in this poem, First Snow. Snow makes whiteness where it falls. The bushes look like popcorn balls. And places where I always play look like somewhere else today. And you can see they've the two red words rhyme and the two blue. So that's the AABB rhyming pattern. ABAB rhyming pattern. And this is illustrated in the poem Oodles of Noodles. I love noodles, give me oodles, make a mound up to the sun. Noodles are my favorite foodles, I eat noodles by the ton. So you can see that oodles and foodles and sun and ton rhyme. So that's the ABAB rhyming pattern. All right, and then we have the ABBA rhyming pattern. This is from Bliss. Let me fetch sticks, let me fetch stones, throw me your bones, teach me your tricks. So this is just an excerpt from a poem, but you can see that the sticks and tricks, right, that's your AA, and then stones and bones, which would be your BB. All right. Okay, so we're gonna watch a short video clip that talks about rhyme and rhyme scheme in poetry, okay?
Hi everyone, in this video we are going to be talking about rhyme and rhyme scheme in poetry. Rhyme can be defined as the repetition of similar sounds at the end of a word. Red and bed, for example, are clearly two rhyming words. Longer words like paralyzed and hypnotized can also be rhyming words. Seems pretty simple, right? Well, there are actually different types of rhyme in poetry. End rhyme is a type of rhyme where the rhyme is at the end of a line of poetry. Let's take a look at an example. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam, I am. Notice how the rhyming words come at the end of each line. This is an example of end rhyme. Another type of rhyme is called internal rhyme. This is a type of rhyme in which the rhyme occurs within a single line of the poem. Let's take a look. Here's a famous example of internal rhyme from Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary. Notice how the two words that rhyme, dreary and weary, are within the same line of the poem. Alright, let's take a look at our last type of rhyme. Near rhyme is a type of rhyme that involves sounds that are similar but are not exactly the same, or in other words, are not perfect rhymes. Here's an example of near rhyme. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without words and never stops at all. Notice how the words soul and all are similar sounding words but are not perfect rhymes. This is an example of near rhyme. Got it? Alright, let's move on. Rhyme scheme is the pattern of rhyming words at the end of each line of a poem. We label rhyme scheme using letters of the alphabet like A, B, and C. Let's start with an easy example. Roses are red, violets are blue, CGMS is the best, and so are you. Notice how words at the end of each line are labeled with a letter depending on the rhyme scheme. Notice how the word red is labeled with an A, the word blue is labeled with a B, the word best is labeled with a C. However, because the word you rhymes with blue, it is also labeled with a B because it follows that same rhyme scheme. So as you can see, this poem follows an A, B, C, B rhyme scheme.
All right, so hopefully that helped you understand about rhyme a little bit more, about rhythm. Um, we are going to go ahead and move on and talk about alliteration. Alliteration is another sound device that is often used in poetry. It's repetition of the same consonant sound at the beginning of several words or sentences or a line of poetry. Poets use alliteration to make their poetry sound more musical and more interesting. So remember, with alliteration, it is the same beginning sound. So it's going to be consonant sounds. Here's an example in a poem called Surf by Lillian Morrison. And they have highlighted in yellow the beginning consonant sounds you can see. Waves want to be wheels. They jump for it and fail, fall flat like pole vaulters and sprawl, arms outstretched, foam fingers reaching. So you can see the waves want wheels, fail, fall flat, and foam fingers. All examples of alliteration. Here's an alliteration example in a poem. This tooth, I jiggled it, jaggled it, jerked it. I pushed and pulled and poked it. But as soon as I stopped and left it alone, this tooth came out on its very own. So you can hear, again, jiggled, jaggled, jerked, pushed, pulled, poked. Another good example of alliteration, and it is quite often used in poetry. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on and talk about assonance, and then we'll watch a video clip about alliteration and assonance. Assonance is a repetition of vowel sounds within words or syllables. So this is not at the beginning of a word. Fleet, feet, sweep by sleeping geese. Free and easy. Make the grade. The stony walls enclose the holy space. So you can see the long E, fleet, feet, sweep, sleeping, and geese. And then free and easy. And then we've got make, grade. So you've got the A sound here, and then O and stony, enclosed, and holy. So assonance is vowel sounds within words or syllables, whereas alliteration is at the beginning. Here are some, Here are some more examples. Poetry is old, ancient goes back far. It is among the oldest of living things. So old it is that no man knows how and why the first poems came. And this is Carl Sandburg, a poem called Early Moon. It's another example from a poem by E. E. Cummings. On a proud round cloud in white high night. And then I made my way to the lake. So this is actually a fairly common sound device used in poetry. All right, we're going to watch a video clip about alliteration assonance. So let me go ahead and get that.
There are many different types of figurative language that you can use to add that extra little kick to your writing. Using figurative language will make your writing stand out to your audience. Two forms of figurative language you can use to spice up your writing are alliteration and assonance. Alliteration and assonance are two forms of figurative language that writers use to make a sound or action stand out. Using alliteration or assonance will bring emphasis to what you are writing and add vivid imagery for your audience to enjoy. The repetition of sounds is very natural, and therefore a very easy technique to use in your writing. Alliteration and assonance are very similar literary devices, but there is one important factor that makes them different. First, we will define alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of consonant sounds, normally at the beginning of successive words. Did you know you've heard alliteration before? Most of you have probably heard alliteration and did not know you were hearing it. Have you ever heard the tongue twister, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers? Or, she sells seashells by the seashore? Both of these are using alliteration because they are repeating the consonant sounds P and S. When using alliteration in your writing, you don't need to make every word begin with the same consonant letter unless you want your sentences to be tongue twisters. Usually poets or writers keep it simple, using alliteration or assonance in 2 or 3 successive words. Let's look at some examples of alliteration. The boys are busy bouncing basketballs. Here, the repetition is of the B sound. His sword sliced silently through the air. This sentence has the repeating S sound. Pretty easy so far, right? Let's take a look at a few more examples just to make sure you've really got it. The kangaroo kicked the kid. The repetition here is with the K sound. Sometimes you can hear the hush sounds of hummingbird wings. Here the repetition is the H sound. You should get the dishes done after dinner. This sentence is repeating the D sound. As long as you have 2 or more words in a sentence that begin with the same consonant sound, you've got alliteration. It's as simple as that. Now let's talk about assonance. It's just a little different, so make sure you're all ears so you don't get them mixed up. The definition of assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds, usually at the beginning of successive words. See the difference? Assonance is all about vowel sounds, and alliteration is all about consonant sounds. Here are some examples of assonance. Some people order old furniture from antique stores. This sentence has the repeating O sound. Amy actually arrived on time. This sentence has the repeating A sound. See, it's not hard at all. Let's do a few more examples. In the summer, ice cream is incredibly irresistible. This sentence has the repeating I sound. The members of clubs wear unique uniforms. This sentence has the repeating U sound. Assonance is really easy. As long as you have 2 or more words in a sentence that begin with the same vowel sound, you've got assonance. There are numerous forms of figurative language, and alliteration and assonance are just 2 of the ways you can include figurative language in your writing.
All right, now we're going to talk about onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is another sound device used in poetry. It's the use of words that sound like the noises they describe. Poets choose words not just for what they mean, but what they sound like. Poets often use onomatopoeia to liven up their writing and add some fun sounds to it. So here's an example from the poem The Fourth by Silverstein. On crash, my bash, it's bang, the zang, fourth, whoosh, a baroom, July, woo. So you can hear all the different sounds: crash, bash, bang, zang, whoosh, baroom, and wee. All right, we are going to watch a quick little video clip that has some more examples of onomatopoeia.
Beep. Ring. Ping-a-pong. Boom. Flush. Pop. Bang. Splash. Crack. Click.
All right, here's onomatopoeia example in another poem called Listen. Scrunch, 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 crunch, crunch, crunch. Frozen snow and brittle ice make a winter sound that's nice. Underneath my stamping feet and the cars along the street. Scrunch, 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 crunch, crunch, crunch. So you can see there are a lot of examples of onomatopoeia used in that poem. All right, now it is quiz time. So There are 8 questions, and all you're going to need to do is write down A, B, C, or D, what you think the correct answer is or the best answer, and then we'll check them. So if you need to pause the video to go grab pencil and paper or pen or something to jot down your answers, go ahead and do that now. All right, so question number 1, what is alliteration? Is it A, the repetition of vowel sounds inside of nearby words? B, the repetition of consonant sounds inside of nearby words? C, the repetition of the beginning sounds of nearby words? Or D, the feeling a reader gets from a text? All right, you write down what you think is the right answer. We're going to go over the answers at the end. All right, question 2. Onomatopoeia is A, using the same sound to start several words. B, using words to mimic sounds. C, repeating a word or phrase. Or D, exaggerating for effect. Again, choose the best answer. Question 3, what is assonance? A, the repetition of vowel sounds inside of nearby words. B, the repetition of consonant sounds inside of nearby words. C, the repetition of the beginning sounds of nearby words. Or D, the feeling a reader gets from a text. You choose what you think is the best answer. All right, question number 4. Which detail from the following excerpt of the poem Casey at the Bat contains alliteration? Then from 5,000 throats and more there rose a lusty yell. It rumbled through the valley, it rattled in the dell. It pounded on the mountain and recoiled upon the flat, for Casey, mighty Casey, was advancing to the bat. All right, so which excerpt contains alliteration? Is it A, then from 5,000 throats? B, it rattled in the dell? C, it pounded on the mountain? Or D, was advancing to the bat? So remember, alliteration, give you a hint, has to do with the consonant sounds. All right, so choose which one of those lines contains alliteration. All right, question number 5. What do writers pay most attention to when they use onomatopoeia? Is it A, the visual imagery? B, the way words sound? C, the spelling and punctuation? Or D, the literal or actual meaning of words? So we're talking about onomatopoeia. Remember, that was the last sound device we talked about. So which would be the best answer? All right, question 6. Which of the following sentences uses onomatopoeia? A, I ate the noodles with chopsticks. B, my sister slurped down her spaghetti. C, the chef rolled out a sheet of dough to make pasta. Or D, I love sushi so much, it's probably my favorite food. So which uses onomatopoeia? All right, question 7. Choose the word that rhymes perfectly with the word ham. Is it A, hat, B, lamb, C, family, or D, cramped? And then question 8, how many syllables are in the following line? It was a late, dark night in Boston Harbor. Remember we talked about the syllables, the sounds that are stressed. Is it A, 8, B, 9, C, 11, or D, 13? It was a late, dark night in Boston Harbor. How many syllables would that be? All right, so here are our answers, and we will go back and look at the answers with the questions. All right, so question number 1, our answer was C. So let's go back and look. All right, so what is alliteration? So that would be C, the repetition of the beginning sounds of nearby words, beginning sounds, right? And they're always, whoops, going to be consonants, right? All right, question number 2. Onomatopoeia is, and I believe our answer for that one was B. Let's go back and see. Yes, so B. All right. Onomatopoeia is B, using words to mimic sounds, right? All right. Question number 3, what is assonance? And I believe that answer was A, the repetition of vowel sounds inside of nearby words. So remember, this has to do with vowel sounds inside. All right, so let's make sure. Yep, so 3 was A. So 4 is also going to be A. Let's go back to number 4. What detail from the poem, excerpt from the poem Casey at the Bat contains alliteration? Okay, so then, so it'd be A, then from 5,000 throats, either then, 1,000, and throats. Remember, alliteration is the sounds at the beginning. All right, so that was question 4. And let's see, 5 was B. So 5, 6, 7 were B and 8 was C. So we'll go back and look at those. So 5 is B. What do writers pay most attention to when they use onomatopoeia? B is the way the words sound. Remember, onomatopoeia, the words mimic the sound. So that was B. Number 6, which of the following sentences use onomatopoeia? Again, we said that answer was B for number 6. My sister slurped down her spaghetti, so slurped being your onomatopoeia word. And then for number 7, we said that was also B. So what word perfectly rhymes with the word ham? That would be B, lamb. And then 8, let's see, 8 would be C. So how many syllables are in the following line? It would be 11. It was a late, dark night in Boston Harbor, right? So that would be 11 syllables. Let's just look if you want to double check to see all your answer choices all together there. 1 was C, 2 was B, 3 was A, 4 was A, 5 was B, 6 was B, 7 was B, and 8 was C. All right, so hopefully you learned something about sound devices in poetry today, and I will see you later.